tone is completely different. The phrasing,
Hi, Clay.
yeah.
lifted high over the clouds up into the blue sky. Hearts open wide, hands lifted high over the clouds up into the blue sky. Hearts open wide, hands lifted high over the clouds up into the blue sky. You will never run away, you're forever mine. You will never run away, you're by my side. You will never run away, you forever shine. You will never run away, you're by my side.
Woo, thank you so much. Good morning. We are so glad to have you with us today. This next song is King of My Heart. And this song is a great reminder of the promise. The promise isn't that everything's going to be okay all the time. The promise isn't that everything's going to work out the way you want it to all the time. The promise is that you're never alone, that God will never let you down and He will never let you fail. Please sing this next song with us.
Let the King of my heart be the mountain where I run, the fountain I drink from. Oh, He is my song. And let the King of my heart be the shadow where I hide, the ransom for my life. Oh, He is my song. 'Cause you are good, you're good. Oh, 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 let the King of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, He is my song. Let the King of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, He is my song. 'Cause you are good, you're good. Oh, you are good, you're good. Oh, you are good, you're good. Oh, you are good, you're good.
You're never gonna let me down.
Here we go.
And you're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let me down.
Because He's faithful, we sing.
You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let me down.
you're good. Oh, you are good, you're good. Oh,
Amen. God is so good. What a blessing to get to raise our voices together this morning. You may be seated.
Tumble out of bed and I stumble to the kitchen.
a cup of ambition. Yawn and stretch and try to come to life.
Jump in the shower and the blood starts pumping.
Out on the streets, the traffic starts jumping for folks like me on the job from 9 to 5. Working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living, barely getting by. It's all taken and no giving. Just use your mind, and they never give you credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it.
My two lives have got me hopping dawn till midnight. There's no stopping. Don't know which I'm mothering the most. Pack his lunch and kiss my son and grab my purse and I keep running. Got so much on my plate I could choke.
Working 9 to 5 for service and devotion. You would think that I
Would deserve a back promotion.
want to move ahead.
But the boss won't seem to let me. I swear sometimes that man is out to get me.
9 to 5.
To dream just to watch him shatter. You're just a step on the boss man's ladder, but you got dreams he'll never take away.
You're in the same boat with a lot of your friends, waiting for the day your ship will come in.
The tide's gonna turn and
it's all gonna roll your way.
9 to 5.
As long as we're together, you know, you and I will make it through whatever.
They can't keep us down. We'll just rise above it. You hold on to me. We'll tell them they can keep it. 9 to 5, you can lose your mind. Get up and work, get up and work. 9 to 5, lose your mind. Working 9 to 5, lose your mind. 9 to 5, it's enough to drive you crazy. It's enough to drive you crazy. It's enough to drive you crazy.
It's enough to drive you. Get up and work, get up and work. 9 to 5. 9 to 5.
Plans are in the making, success is out there for the taking. Wish it was as simple as it sounds. I swear to you, I'm gonna do it. Grit my teeth and I'll get through it. It's hard to see the upside when you're down. Working 9 to 5. So many of us do it, but we know inside we're gonna make it through it. There's a brighter day, and we'll keep moving towards it. We'll find that dream soon as we can just afford it. 9 to 5, working 9 to 5, 9 to 5, working 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 5.
Good morning and welcome to worship at St. Luke's and welcome to St. Luke's on Broadway. We're so glad to have you joining us for worship today. What a fun time to be able to come together as a family of faith as we go through this summer sermon series looking at the gospel message through the lens of Broadway musicals. If today's your first time worshiping with us, we're especially honored by your presence. We want to let you know that we have a special gift for you. You can stop by the Welcome Center following today's service to pick that up if today is your first time worshiping here at St. Luke's. Whether it is your first time here or you're a lifelong member, we want to invite you to take just a moment to register your attendance. Let us know that you're worshiping with us. You can register your attendance by sending a text message to the number that's on your screen, 405-351-4001. Just text either the keyword guest or the keyword member. Send it to that number, and then you can get a text back and follow the link there to fill out a short form. Let us know who else is worshiping with you this morning or any ways that we could be in prayer for you as a family of faith. You know, at St. Luke's, we're so committed to our mission to share God's love and bring hope to the world. We always say that we live that out by sharing Christ, by growing in our faith, and by serving the community. One of the ways that we serve the community every year is through our United Methodist Women's Garage Sale. That garage sale was happening this past week down at our downtown campus. There were so many of you that I saw there helping to work at it, coming and dropping off your donations to be a part of the garage sale. Maybe you went down and shopped at the garage sale. And I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for the roles that you played in being a part of that. I'm thrilled to be able to tell you that this year we raised nearly $15,000 from the garage sale, all to be given away to missions to serve our community. Thank you to all of you who helped to participate and be a part of that. You know, one of the ways that we are so committed as a family of faith is to helping raise up the next generation within the church. One of the ways that we do that is through confirmation class every year. Confirmation class is kind of one of those rites of passage, something that our students go through this class to learn all about who we are as a church, what our beliefs are, what it means to be Methodist. And at the end of confirmation class, they'll have an opportunity to be able to stand in front of the family of faith and profess their faith and officially become members of St. Luke's. Confirmation class usually happens in the spring every year. This last year, because of COVID and back in January, we just weren't ready to be having in-person confirmation classes yet. We wanted to wait until we could have the students come together in person for class. So we're thrilled to be able to say for the first time ever, we're going to be kicking off a fall confirmation class. This will be for all students 7th grade or above who have never been through confirmation before. So if you have a student who is a 7th grader or above, or maybe you have a grandchild 7th grade or above who's never been through confirmation class, I hope that you'll go online to our website. There you'll find a place where you can learn more information about that. Get them registered to be a part of confirmation. It's going to be kicking off 2 weeks from today on Sunday, August the 22nd. We'll be having an informational luncheon to kick everything off right after the 11 o'clock worship service that day. It's going to be a great time. Confirmation class is one of those programs that I am so proud of, the way that it is structured and what our students get to experience. It is an amazing program. I hope that you'll encourage your students to come and be a part of that. You know, right now is such a fun time as we're going through St. Luke's on Broadway. We have all this fun music every week in worship. You know, if you've been enjoying the music here in worship every Sunday throughout this Broadway series, we've got a special opportunity coming up here in a few weeks on Wednesday, September the 1st, for a Broadway review concert. We're going to have a whole night just of the Broadway music. The music that you're hearing during this sermon series, as well as some of our other favorite Broadway tunes. You'll get to see some of our favorite guest singers, as well as ones from the past. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tickets are on sale for that. It's going to be down at our downtown campus that night. You can go online to our website to be able to purchase your tickets today. Next week, we will be continuing St. Luke's on Broadway. We'll be looking at the musical, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's a wonderful musical, fantastic music. And I'm thrilled to be able to tell you that next Sunday we're going to be welcoming in 3 special guest singers. We'll be welcoming Lecroy. Erin has been performing up on Broadway in Phantom of the Opera, starring as Christine in Phantom of the Opera. She's going to be here at St. Luke's Edmond next Sunday, along with Rodney Ingram, who, if you were here a few weeks ago when we looked at Phantom of the Opera, Rodney was our guest singer for that show. He's going to be back next Sunday. You remember that Rodney played the role of Raoul in Phantom of the Opera on Broadway. And finally, we'll also be welcoming Tommy Cunningham, who also starred in Phantom of the Opera on the national tour. All 3 of them will be here at St. Luke's Edmond next Sunday to bring the music from Hunchback of Notre Dame to life for us. It's going to be incredible. You will not want to miss it. And it's a perfect Sunday to be able to invite somebody else to come and experience this fun, this great music together. You may have seen the invitation tickets on the seats whenever you came in this morning. Be sure to grab those, take them with you this week, hand it to a friend, a neighbor, a family member as a simple way to invite somebody else to come and join you as we continue this fun looking at the gospel message in this sermon series. We are so glad to have you joining us for worship today, and we want to continue our worship service with the receiving of our tithes and our offerings. If you would like to give to help support the missions and ministries of St. Luke's, to be a part of our mission to share God's love and bring hope to the world, we would love to invite you to do that. There's several different ways that you can give. You can go onto our website and click on the Giving tab. If you're here with you in person and you've got your gift with you, you can drop it in the offering box on your way out of worship this morning. Or maybe the easiest way to give is simply by text message. You can send a text to the number that's on your screen, 73256. Just text the letters STL and send it to that number. Then you can follow the prompts to be able to set up your giving that way. Together, when we all do our part, it's amazing how God is able to use our gifts to make a difference as we share God's love and bring hope in this world. As we continue in our worship service in a time of prayer, there's one family in particular we want to invite you to be keeping in your prayers this week, and that's Sandra Payton, as well as her kids, Lane, Tyler, and Laura, at the death of Sandra's husband, Marvin Payton. Remembering this family, as well as the prayers that we each bring on our hearts, let us be united now as a family of faith in an attitude of prayer. Almighty and gracious God, we are so grateful to be able to come into your presence this morning, to remember that you are good. You are a God of all goodness. You brought all things into being and called them good. You created humanity, and you said that we were very good. You have called us to a life of goodness. You have called us to be a light in the darkness. You have called us to bring hope to others. So we ask that you would fill us with your Holy Spirit, that we might be strengthened and equipped to be sent out into the world to fulfill that calling upon our lives. God, as we go through all of the ups and the downs of life, sometimes it can seem overwhelming. Sometimes all of the pressures, the to-dos, the things that are heavy on our hearts, we just don't know how we can make it one more day. It's in those moments that we are reminded that we are not alone, that you are with us, walking this journey of life. And we're grateful that we have the gift of a family of faith, to be able to come together to find strength from one another in those times of need, to have friends and neighbors and loved ones that we can count on. And yet we also know that at times in our lives, we are called to be those who can be that person for somebody else. Sometimes we are the ones that are going to go and provide a message of encouragement, a word of hope. So open our eyes to see those opportunities that are in front of us each and every day. Fill us with the words that we need. Equip us with the tools so that we can be your children, your disciples, sharing your love and bringing hope to all. We pray this in the name of your Son, Jesus, who taught us to pray together by saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Well, it's funny how you walked in here, assuming I'd come back. Well, let me tell you something, you are way off track. Can't you see I'm different, or are you still that blind? No, you stand right there and take it. There's no love to hide behind. Well, I am proud to tell you, I'm really feeling good. I'm doing so much better than you ever thought I would. Got my own place, my own space to think and dream and plan. Took me this long to realize I do not need a man. Wish it was as simple as it sounds. I have no choice, I have to do it. Face the future, walk into it. Now that I'm unfettered and unbound, get out and stay out. I finally had enough. Don't kiss me on your way out. It wouldn't move me much. You used me, abused me. You cheated and you lied. So get out and stay out. I'm taking back my
Reading. Ask and it will be given you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be opened. Or what man of you, if his son asks him for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will give him a serpent? If you then, who are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good things to those who ask him? So whatever you wish that men would do to you, do so to them, for this is the law and the prophets. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. You may be seated.
It was back in 1973. Sandra Karen Nussbaum and Ellen Cassidy were both secretaries working at Harvard University. They were working there in these offices, and they found themselves just really finally having enough. They just can't take it anymore. They're fed up with the fact that they don't get paid well. They're fed up with the fact that there's so much disrespect going on. They really have had it. And so they decided to get together and try to talk about how to deal with the issue. They visit about what they want to talk about, and so then they invite 8 other ladies to come, and 10 of them sit around, all who are working there in the offices at Harvard, and they talk about what are their requests. I mean, it was things like they said they want to talk to the personnel director and say, we want a raise. One of their catch lines became, raises, not roses. Everybody gets roses for Secretary's Day. They wanted fair pay. They wanted health care. In the end, they wound up wanting a pension. They wanted respect. As one of these 10 ladies said, we are referred to as girls from the very first day until the day we retire without a pension. So they went and met with the personnel director, all 10 of them. They had their say, and in the end, nothing changed. So they decided that they were going to do something more. They rented a small office down at the YWCA, and there they started producing a newsletter. They then started taking this newsletter and standing by the subway entrances and handing them out to women that they believed were going to be office workers there in the city of Boston. They were handing them out and talking about what they were doing and what they felt they should do. And then they put out word, we're going to have a meeting in downtown Boston, and 150 women showed up. They made assignments, and they started doing all kinds of things like learning about labor laws, trying to study the situation and what can we do, what is legal, what is fair. And one of the things they discovered when they started looking into it was that there was a group called the Boston Survey Group. It really was kind of a secretive group. It wasn't open for membership. No, you had a representative from 40 of the largest employers in Boston. And they would get together about every 6 months, and they would talk about what were they going to pay their girls. What was the rate they were going to pay the female office workers? And they would then set the rate that they would all pay. It just so happened that the pay for secretaries, office clerical help, was the third lowest of any major city in America. They had managed to truly just depress the salaries that these people were making. Well, when that came to light, they started coming out and going, you know, we think that's illegal. You're setting pay based on gender. It's now setting one salary, all people together. I mean, this is illegal. Well, it started hitting the news. It became a big deal. And in the end, every one of the companies started giving raises to their secretaries, a minimum of 10% or more. They started doing all kinds of things, calling on walkouts, calling on marches. The people started finding a voice. Well, when the group came together to say, we're going to do this, they gave themselves a name. They chose the name 9 to 5. We who are the workers of 9 to 5, we deserve better. Well, now this all came into being, if you think about it, culturally, what's going on in the United States in the 70s. You have the women's liberation movement. You have the labor movement. You have the civil rights movement. And all these begin to come together at the same time as these women are standing up for their rights. But something else happened. There was an influx of 12 million women into the workforce between 1970 and 1979. The influx of all these women coming into work, and they too are wanting better pay, health care, a pension, respect. And so it was. They were having such great success in Boston that 9 to 5 decided they were going to branch out nationally. And so they now got a person to start a chapter in Atlanta and in other major cities all the way to San Francisco. Over the next few years, 9 to 5 chapters were springing up all across the United States. They created a hotline for sexual harassment. There was some place you could finally turn, a call you could make, someone who would listen, and a lawyer to say, here's what are your rights and here's what you can do. No, they kept printing the leaflets, and now they started calling for more walkouts, where all the secretaries would be in one large corporation, and they'd say, okay, at 2 o'clock, we're all going to leave. And they would leave, and literally would shut down the business of the company. Now they begin finding their strength. Well, it just so happened that Jane Fonda was friends with Karen Nussbaum. And Karen was telling Jane Fonda about the stories that women had of what life was like working as a secretary in one of these large corporations, and then about what they were doing with 9 to 5. And Jane, being an activist, was very intrigued. So she traveled to Cleveland, Ohio, where there was a chapter of 9 to 5. It was 40 women that came together who were working there at City National Bank. And Jane and Patricia Resnick came and sat down and said, tell us your stories. What is your job like? What do you experience? And they started telling all these stories. And I mean, their eyes were so wide. And after they finally had talked for a good while, it was Jane Fonda who said, listening to your stories, have any of you ever fantasized about killing your boss? Every hand went up. 40 hands are up in the room. And she said, tell me about your fantasies. And so they did. As you can see, this was the beginning of the movie. It was the storyline. The ideas of how to kill your boss, well, that was the fantasies that showed up in the movie. The issues that they were dealing with, they were all based on the stories that these women were saying, here's what we're experiencing. So really it became a movie that was based out of the experiences of these women working at the bank in Cleveland, Ohio. They came back and Patricia Resnick began working on the storyline. And then they brought in Colin Higgins and he began working on the storyline. I want to read you what Jane Fonda said to him. Jane said, what I found was that secretaries know the work they do is important, is skilled, but they also know they are not treated with respect. They called themselves office wives. They have to put gas in their boss's car, get his coffee, pick up his laundry, buy the presents for his wife and mistress. So when we came to do the film, we said to Colin Higgins, okay, what you have to do is write a screenplay which shows that you can run an office without a boss, but you can't run an office without the secretaries. They went to work on the storyline. And the first big decision they had to make was this going to be a drama or a comedy? They decided it was going to be a drama. And they started trying to write that and make it come together. But what they discovered was, as they tried to do a drama, it came off being very preachy. It came off like they were on a soapbox. They didn't feel like that was going to work. So they decided to do a comedy. Again, making the decision. A comedy about serious issues made it easier for people to watch and made people aware of how sexism in the workplace is ridiculous and that people don't have to put up with it. It was a comedy about the very real issues that all these people were dealing with and told in such a way that you laughed because it was obviously so ridiculous. It's interesting how both the movie and the musical don't debate discrimination. They simply tell the stories so that when you look at it, you go, well, of course this is wrong. Once they decided to make it a comedy, it was Jane who went out to choose who she wanted to work with and make the stars in the show. She chose Lily Tomlin, and then she chose Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton had never acted in a movie before. She had never had any acting lessons at all. But Jane just somehow knew she would be able to pull it off. And so now they had Dolly Parton, Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda. I loved it. Dolly said, my very first movie, and I was excited to be with these two stars. I figured if the movie was successful, because of them, well, I'd get to share in the glory. And if it's a terrible bomb, well, I could blame the stars. So she decided to try and to be a part. The one thing she did ask is if she was going to be in the movie, she wanted to write the theme song. And they agreed. And so Dolly started watching around the set, listening to the stories, thinking about the script, going back to her trailer, and she finally started coming up with a song. And what she did was, she said she wore acrylic nails, and she would keep time by banging her acrylic nails. And she said it sounded like a typewriter. In fact, if you go back and look at when the song comes out, it will even say, orchestra this and that. On the nails, Dolly Parton. No, she was making her nails sound like a typewriter and keeping time with the song. And she had Jane and Lily come to hear it, and she sang in her trailer. Tumble out of bed, I stumble to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition, yawn and stretch and try to come to life. Jump in the shower and the blood starts pumping. Out on the streets, the traffic starts jumping for folks like me on the job for 9 to 5. I was watching an interview with Jane Fonda, and she said, when we heard the song, you could see the hairs on our arm, Lily and me, stand up. She said, we just got chills. It was like the movement now has an anthem. And it literally did. 9 to 5 went to number 1 on country, pop, adult entertainment, a triple number 1. It was a huge success because people literally around the country, working women everywhere, suddenly understood it was their song. Huge success. The movie, it came out in 1980, and it wound up being the second highest box office grossing movie of the year. Again, a huge success. It did deal with such important issues and did it in a way that we laughed and yet came away asking ourselves, this is wrong, isn't it? Things did change, but it's fascinating how some things change and some things stay the same. People came to Dolly Parton in 2009, 29 years later, and said, will you write the music and lyrics, and let's take the movie and make it into a musical. And so it opened in Broadway in 2009 because we still needed to talk about all of these things. It opened in West End in London in 2019, 2 years ago. Some things change, some things stay the same. And yet we know it's wrong. When I was watching the movie and the musical of 9 to 5, I came away always saying to myself, if these people knew the golden rule, we wouldn't have all this problem. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Speak to others the way you want to be spoken to. It's like, if you knew the golden rule, we wouldn't have these problems. Our scripture lesson this morning comes from the book of Matthew in the 7th chapter. And we know that Matthew gives us the Sermon on the Mount, chapters 5 through 7, 3 full chapters. Jesus goes up on the mountain, the people draw near to him, and Jesus begins to preach. Most scholars say that this probably was not one sermon. Yes, there was a Sermon on the Mount. Jesus went up on the mount, people came, he preached, but there is so much meat here for 3 chapters. That probably what happened was Matthew would remember all these different teachings of Jesus, hearing him preach, and he sat down to write the Sermon on the Mount and kind of got the best of the best to put into this one sermon to say, here is the truth that Jesus wants us to understand. And so one of those things is the 12th verse, where Jesus says, so whatever you wish that men would do to you, do so to them. For this is the law and the prophets. Remember those last few words. For this is the law and the prophets. The people of Israel spent their time trying to learn the law. Now the law is the Big Ten from Moses. But then you have all the laws that do interpreting that for the first 5 books of the Bible called the Pentateuch. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. They wanted to learn the law, to follow the laws of God so they could live well. And then hundreds of years later, you have the prophets come along, and the prophets begin saying, do you understand the laws? Here's what we're doing and not doing. And so the prophets are telling the people again, how do you live by the law? And so Jesus comes along and says, whatever you wish that men would do to you, do so to them. For this is the law and the prophets. You want to follow the law? You want to do what the prophets have said? Just try to live the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And if we do that, you're going to follow the law. You're going to follow the prophets. Sometimes we forget. Are you speaking to others the way you want to be spoken to? Are you treating others the way you want to be treated? What would happen if we all were following the golden rule? That's what I want us to think about this morning. And what I want to do to get at that is just to go back and look at the song 9 to 5. And I just want to pull out a couple of lines for us to think about. First of all, Dolly would write, 9 to 5, as long as we're together, you know you and I will make it through whatever. You and I together will make it through whatever. That's what the people of the movement 9 to 5 discovered. First of all, Ellen and Karen, they needed each other if we're going to address these issues. And then we needed 8 more, and we had 10 women to address the issues. And then 150. And what they found, there was power in numbers when we were together. They could do things. Things happened. They encouraged one another. They strengthened each other. And they began to make important changes when you do it together. That's what the musical and the movie really was about. If you go back and remember, Violet, Dora Lee, Judy, it was supposed to show 3 very different women in different places in their lives. But when they came together as friends, the 3 of them, they found the strength and the encouragement they needed to try to address the issues of their life. You and me together, we can confront whatever. We do need each other. And when we live the golden rule, then we come together. We do to others as we would want them to do to us. And there's where we find that strength and things begin to happen. You know, as I worked on this sermon series, and I started working on 9 to 5. You know, I start back when I'm on vacation, and I read and I review interviews and documentaries. And learning about Dolly Parton, I have to admit, was really a lot of fun. I really started researching her life. Learned things that I didn't know. Learned that she was born there in Sevier County in the Smoky Mountains, eastern Tennessee. Turned out she was one of 12 children. She was number 4. When she was growing up, she first started singing where? Well, of course, in church. Family went to church. It's where she learned to sing and loved to sing. But they were very, very poor. So it was an uncle who actually gave her a guitar when she was 8 years old. She learned to play the guitar. She started singing. He took her to this contest there in the county, and she got to sing and to play in front of people. And she was so good at 8 years old that they just kept asking for her to sing another song, sing another song. And she loved it. And she told her uncle that day, I'm going to be a big star, ain't I? It became her dream. She decided at 8 years old, this is what she's being called to do. And so you know what she did? What anybody would do. She started praying about it. Praying and really asking, God, if this is what you want me to do, then you're going to need to show me the way. She has always been the person who understood that being famous and being in the limelight, well, that's great fun, but it brings a lot of headaches and heartaches as well. And she's never complained about it because she knew what she wanted to do. She just says, it goes with the territory. So she started learning to sing. As soon as she graduated high school at 18 years old, she left home and headed for Nashville the next day. And she would have all these things begin to take place till she was making it on her own. An incredible singer. She had sold 100 million records. In the end, she wound up being asked to do the movie. And this was the first of several movies. And then she'd create Dollywood. And it just goes on and on with her life. But what I loved about it was Dolly understood she had done all of these things because of the partnerships she'd formed along the way. Whether learning music, singing, it was the partnerships with other people and a partnership with God that gave her the strength to be able to go do the things that she was able to do. So it was in 1991, Dolly was trying to look at her county, Sevier County, where she grew up. She still had a love for the people there and her home place. And what she learned was the education was really struggling. There were still so many people who were almost illiterate. She found out that in the high school, 30 to 35% of the kids dropped out of high school, didn't graduate. They had a 65 to 70% graduation rate. And Dolly knew if that was the case, that the county was never going to get a hold and never have the leaders and go forward. So she had her foundation start looking into it, and the foundation discovered that people tended to decide in the 7th and 8th grade whether they intended to graduate from high school. And so she came up with a program herself. This was her idea. She would say her and God's. And so what she did, she put out a notice to all the 7th and 8th graders there in Sevier County that they were invited to come to Dollywood to a brand new auditorium they had opened up. And there would be a special announcement and presentation. And so all these 7th and 8th graders came. And who made the presentation? Well, it was Dolly, of course. And she came out and she said, what I'm asking today is that every one of you choose a buddy. Everybody choose a buddy. And if you don't have one and you can't find one, you come to me, I'll help you find one. Everybody has to have a buddy. Secondly, if you graduate high school, I'm going to write you a $500 personal check from me and give it to you personally. Now, $500 today, it's good money. $500 30 years ago, that was a lot of money. $500 in Sevier County, Tennessee, that's a fortune. Well, now she had their attention. She said, however, there's one catch. Not only you, but your buddy has to graduate high school too. And it's only if both of you graduate that you get the $500. She said, I'm asking you to sign a contract with your names, the two of you who are buddies, and that you will commit to be there to encourage, to hold accountable, and to support each other. 4 years later, when that first group was graduating from high school, the graduation rate was 94%. 6% dropout rate. It changed everything. She knew there would be future leaders coming about now because they were staying in school and learning. And how did they do it? When you had somebody to be with, a buddy, someone to encourage, someone to be with. Everybody needs a buddy. And how do you get a buddy? Am I being the kind of person that I want you to be for me? Am I living the golden rule? Am I speaking to you the way I want you to speak to me? Am I treating you the way I want you to treat me? It's amazing when we live the golden rule, we start to discover that you can come together. And I believe Jesus understood and was trying to ask for, if we will all live the golden rule, we'll change the world. Now, we know the whole world isn't going to live the golden rule, but you and I are being asked to do it so that where we live, we will help to change our world. And we will do it together. And so secondly, In the song, she says, working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living. Barely getting by. It's all taking and no giving. That's what it sometimes seems like in the world. It's all taking and no giving. That everybody is using us for their own benefits. It's about taking. Again, that's what the movie and the musical was really all about. How it's the corporation, the boss, they're doing all the taking. Taking and no giving. And so what happens when Violet and Dora Lee and Judy get Mr. Hart on an extended sabbatical leave, tying him up at his own home? Once they have him out of the way, what do? They actually live by the golden rule. They start implementing all the things they wish someone would have implemented for them. We're going to create flex time. So you can work this time and be off here so you can be with your kids and yet come in later. Or we're going to wind up having child care here at the facility. Everybody's going to get a raise. We're going to make more. You're going to be treated with respect. No, really, when you look at it, if you go back and watch the movie or you get to see the musical, you will see it really is about these three ladies who now are doing it together, living the golden rule in the office. And of course, what happens in the story? Well, the office does incredibly well. The business does better than ever before. Because we're all treating each other the way that we want to be treated. When you live the golden rule, it's no longer just about me. It's not just about the taking, it's about the giving. And that's what happened with Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton is such an amazing philanthropist. She's had so much success, and she's made so much money. But she's not a star who just thinks about herself. She's about the business of giving. She did the buddy program I was just telling you about. But while they were doing the buddy program and learning all about the education system, what they discovered was how there really was a problem in the schools in the first grade. That in the first grade, kids were already falling behind. They didn't have enough teachers and support in the classroom. And there was real disagreement about what to do. And so Dolly stepped up and said, for every first grade class in the entire county, I will pay for 2 teachers' assistants. For every first grade class, I'll pay the salary of those people for the next 2 years. And if we see it makes a difference, then I expect the county to take it over. Well, she did. It did. And the county did. A real difference in how do we get the first graders being able to get a good start. But by the time all that was happening, now she had these kids graduating from high school. Well, that was great, but they need to go to college. And so she started giving scholarships to the graduating seniors to go to college. And she created a scholarship for all the different schools, every school of if you have a dream, and you can articulate that dream and how you are going to make it come true, she would give you a $15,000 scholarship to go to college. And now kids were going to college. The whole idea was, how do we educate people? How are we going to wind up helping these people stay here and raise up and be leaders? It's why she started Dollywood in 1986. She didn't start Dollywood to have some sort of money-making enterprise. It may do that, but she started Dollywood in Sevier County because she wanted to create industry. She wanted to create a place that was fun and wholesome for families. But you think about it, it creates jobs. And it brings in revenue from the people who come from all over the country to go there. And so it's bringing in the cash and it's creating the jobs and raising the standard of living of everybody who was living in a county that was one of the poorest in the nation. She was working on Dollywood, and I loved the fact that in Dollywood, often a secluded area, center part of the place, but a secluded area, she has a chapel. And that chapel has held worship services every Sunday. Every Sunday at Dollywood, it still holds worship services. And you see, she wanted to have the chapel because she knew that if people come to Dollywood, they may be having fun and they may be laughing, but everybody also still carries their burdens. And so she wanted a place where people could come and stop and pray and leave their prayer request there in the chapel. The name of the chapel is the Robert F. Thomas Chapel. You see, it's named after a Methodist minister. Because when Dolly was being born, of course everybody was born in their home, well, her mother started having problems and Dolly was having problems, and it looked like both might die. And her father hopped on a horse and galloped into town to go find the Methodist minister, because he was also the doctor. And he got on his horse and galloped back out to their house, and there he saved Dolly's mom and Dolly's life. And so she never forgot him. The Methodist minister doctor, Reverend Robert F. Thomas, she named that the Thomas Chapel after him. Somewhere that she likes to go and sit and pray. But you see, Dolly loves to get up early in the morning. She is an early riser. And she said, before the day starts going, it's where I like to sit and pray and listen. And she said, God gives me all these amazing dreams and ideas. And she said, sometimes I get all these ideas and I think, that's impossible. But I've learned to not qualify the dreams and decide what is possible or not possible with God. So I listen, and then I will try and see if I find God is really leading me in that direction. Like the idea that came to her in her morning prayer time, you know, the children of Sevier County, well, they have so very little educational resources. When she was growing up, she never had a book. Her father couldn't read. So many people in the county couldn't read. So she had the idea, what if people could sign up, and when a baby is born, if we started sending them a book a month, every month until they get to be 5 years old and they go to kindergarten. If we sent them a book a month, and young, then maybe people could read to the child, and the child could learn to read and discover the joy of reading, and we could send these age-appropriate books to these children every month for 5 years till they got off to kindergarten, first grade. What a great idea. Every child who wanted it in Sevier County could sign up for it. Well, the idea went over great, so great, she called it Imagination Library. And it went over so great that it began to actually start finding new partners and expanding across the country. And it started expanding all over the United States. And then it went to Australia and the UK and Ireland. As of today, Imagination Library has given away 163 million books. And it's still going. 163 million books to children to help them have a vision for reading. Those things that seem impossible, Dolly learned, don't decide they're impossible. Let God lead you. Now, Dolly Parton understands what it means to live the golden rule. And now, when you live the golden rule, well, we're going to come together. And it's not going to be about taking. It's going to be about giving. She understood. It changes the way you live and look at life. When you and I decide we're going to live the golden rule, well, it's going to change things. So that when you tumble out of bed and stumble to the kitchen and pour yourself a cup of ambition, and you yawn and stretch and try to come to life, and you jump in the shower and the blood starts pumping, and out on the street the traffic starts jumping for folks like you on the job from 9 to 5 with a smile. It's in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Let each of us lift up our own silent prayer. Amen.
They say we always get what we deserve, whether good, bad, or indifferent.
That's what I always heard. No good deed goes unpunished, but the bad deeds you have done, stretched out, I'm sure that they would reach from here to kingdom come.
We think it's time you get what you deserve. You've got no true compassion, but you've really got some nerve.
And you've hurt every one of us in different kinds of ways. What goes around comes around, and each dog has its day. Under this hair is a brain, not that you'd ever care. And you only see looks, but get this, there's a heart under there. A heart that's been broken and ripped out more times than a few. Well, oh, Beverly Dorley's gonna stick it to you. I'm gonna shine like the sun when these clouds roll away from my door. When it's all said and done, I won't be at your mercy no more. I will prove my own worth, heal the damage and hurt that's been done. And when the crying's all done, well, I'm gonna shine like the sun. I've had enough hurt in my life, and you've been adding to it. But I'm in control now, and just like before, I'll get through it. You've hurt and embarrassed me, proving you don't give a care. And I'm tired of men like you who make me feel less than my share. I'm gonna shine like the sun when these clouds roll away from my door. When it's all said and done, I won't be at your mercy no more. I'm taking what's mine, I'll be fine, I'll get second to none. And when the losing's all done, I'm gonna shine like the sunshine.
I've been down on my luck, I've been shadowed with trouble and sorrow. But I'm not giving up, 'cause I know there is always tomorrow. There is no guarantee, life is always a hit or a miss. But I truly believe I won't always be feeling like this. I'm gonna shine like the sun when these clouds roll away from my door. I won't crawl, I can run, I won't be at your mercy no more. I'll be singing and I'll be so proud that we finally won. And when the losing's all done, we're gonna shine. Shine like the sun. Trying's all done when the lion's all done. When the lion's all done, there'll be nothing but sun. When it's all said and done, we're gonna shine, like the
What a special day to be together as a family of faith and to be reminded of that message, the strength that we find from one another, and how we treat each other. If you would like to become a part of the St. Luke's family of faith today and join our church, we would love to invite you to do that. Here in just a moment, we're going to sing one final song together as a family of faith as we worship together. If you would like to join the church, you can come down front as we're singing. We would love to take just a moment to be able to welcome you, to greet you, and to introduce you. I'm going to invite Logan Fish, our Director of Campus Hospitality, to join me down front. I'd like to invite all of you to stand and join us as we worship and sing together.
Let the King of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, he's my song. Let the King of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, he is my song, 'cause you are good. You're good. Oh, you are good. You're good. Oh, you are good. You're good. Oh, you are good. You're good.
Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget on your way out, if this is your first time worshiping with us, you have a special gift waiting for you over at the Welcome Center we would love to be able to give you. You know, today was the last day of our school supply drive collection. Between our campuses, we collected nearly 1,000 backpacks full of school supplies that we're going to be able to use to bless the lives of children. Thank you to all of you who participated, were a part of that. This morning in our children's Sunday school, they took all of those backpacks and they took time to bless all of them before we send them out to be a part of kids' school year this year. We also were blessing all of our own children's backpacks this morning as they get ready to start a new school year. I hope you'll join me in praying for all of our students, as well as all of the teachers and faculty and staff as they're getting ready to start a new school year this week. But teachers and staff and faculty members of schools, we didn't forget about you either. We're not just focused on the students. We have a gift for you at the Welcome Center as well. So if you are a current teacher or faculty member or staff member at a school, we've got a gift for you at the Welcome Center. Be sure to stop by and pick that up. You know, Dr. Lung's message was so important this morning, talking about the golden rule and what it means to treat others the way that we want to be treated. You know, we were thinking about how do we want to be treated when we come out of worship on a Sunday morning? What better way to be treated than to have special treats waiting for you? Lemon cake and cinnamon rolls. We've got some goodies for you this morning out in the narthex. Be sure to stop by, pick some of those up. Just have some fun visiting with friends and being a part of the family of faith. We're so glad to have you with us today. Next Sunday, we'll be continuing St. Luke's on Broadway with Hunchback of Notre Dame. Don't forget, we're going to have Aaron Lecroy and Rodney Ingram and Tommy Cunningham. The music is going to be amazing next Sunday. And thank you so much to all of our musicians today. What an incredible day. You're not going to want to miss it. Be sure to invite somebody to join you next Sunday. Would you please receive our sending forth? God, as we go back out into the world, we pray that you would give us new eyes, open hearts, and open minds to see the ways that we can be in ministry for you, treating others the way that we would want to be treated. Use us this week to share your love and bring hope in this world. Amen.
We love you. Have a beautiful Sunday. Spread some love and spread some joy. We'll see you right back here next Sunday at 9 a.m.